This is the We Will Fix It show, a Podaholiks podcast with Colin and Dan from WeWillFixIt.com. And for the next hour, we're going to be talking about those DIY issues in your house, stuff that's going on, questions and queries that you have about the DIY world and how to fix stuff and things that you should just be thinking about in general, whether that be AC, whether that be heating, whether that be paint. We're going to be talking about it. This is the We Will Fix It show.
Are we going to start? The We Will Fix It show. The Dan and Colin show. That's what it is. It's the handy guys.
He's back.
Yeah,
hallelujah.
And another loud shirt.
And this is the first time I think I've seen you guys in all of the episodes we've done. So the new episodes and the previous episodes wearing different shirts.
Well, yeah, because
you color coordinate.
Yeah, we've got the two brands. So we've got Essential Maintenance now, which is our annual brand, and then obviously We Will Fix It. Been going since 2008. So we kind of have both T-shirts that we randomly kind of move in and out of, unless we've got something major going on. So today,
what major would be going on with you guys? I'm just curious.
Well, if we've got, for instance, if we're off to see customers, and it's for one of the particular brands, somebody's signing up to a new annual maintenance contract, and we're going to bob in ourselves, as well as the team that looks after that, then we'll try and wear the T-shirt.
And I'm doing the nursery drop-off in the morning, so I'm advertising the blue T-shirts, 250 young parents.
It's a really good point, that, actually, because you won't imagine how often Dan and I get stopped either in school or nursery for a little chat about maintenance.
Oh, I'm sure.
And I always go for a coffee at North Anglia, where my kids are, and it's almost like a mini podcast, that discussion. You know, 5-10 minutes, somebody grabs you, and they've always got some kind of problem, and then you have that one person who kind of taps you and, can I have a quiet word, please? my toilet's blocked. Don't tell anyone. I'm like, yes, we get 20 of these a day. Perfectly normal. Do not worry.
Well, by association, I now also get these questions, figuring that because I hang out with you guys, I must know something, which ultimately they really want to know your number.
But you must know by now. We've been doing this for years. What are you on about?
I know. That's why I was sitting there. It's like 800 fix. Just give them a call. But at that point, I'm also then going to my phone to see, what are those three numbers for fixing? Because I'm not paying enough attention.
349. 800 349. WeWillFixIt.com. EssentialMaintenance.com.
It's a very American thing, isn't it? Doing the 349 fix.
Yeah.
Big in the States.
Well, that's the thing. I just said it's just like being at home. I'm Canadian, but it was the same thing. I said, okay, that works for me. And a funny one, I had one of my colleagues poked her head in my door this week, and she lives in one of the EMAR towers. And I think I dropped you a quick line about it.
Oh, yes.
And so she was having that. She comes into my office and she says, I've got this big problem. And I'm going, okay, what's the problem? He goes, toxic fumes coming into my apartment. And I'm going, how do you know they're toxic? And she goes, that's the problem. I don't, but they smell so bad. Like it was something that you would think, okay, there was a really big issue here. So she's saying, I need to get EMAR to come. I need to have an environmental test done, an air quality test done. And I'm going, do you think they're going to do that? And she's going, maybe. And I said, why don't you call We Will Fix It and have those guys come, send in one of their teams just to take a look. Is it your fan? Is it your ducting? Is it something? At least get their impression, because that's what they do. And so she did call, and your team went.
Great.
And they, again, it's in a tower. So, centralized heating, centralized airflow.
Fresh air systems tend to be the ones that pull the smells out.
So this was it. And what she discovered, or what they suggested, they said, look, we don't think it's toxic, first of all. But they did say that there's a whole bunch of construction outside, and there's a fresh air vent in the duct. So first thing they did is they closed the duct. They closed that fresh air vent so that it wasn't drawing from the building. It was they left. There was two, they said.
So you need to make sure you've still got fresh air coming in,
right.
From a carbon dioxide perspective, amongst other things, or carbon monoxide, more scaringly. Yeah.
And then they took a nice look around in the ducts, and they said, hey, you know what? These things are pretty filthy. We need to do a disinfecting for you.
Yep.
And so they did a cleaning disinfecting. And no smell, so she's happy for now.
It's an odd one, that, isn't it? Because people only ever see the vent, and you've either got a clean vent or a dirty vent, but you don't know what's inside, and the vent is the least of your issues. And
Absolutely.
Then when you do get inside there, people are just gobsmacked. Even new properties. Yeah. The number of times we've been to new properties with somebody, just an AC service, standard thing, and we go in there, and there is a huge amount of building rubble.
Well, and I thought, I mean, Dan, you just moved into a new place. It must have been the same thing.
Mine was in the water tank. Yeah.
Oh.
So towards the end of the construction, the people were just throwing rubble into the water tank instead of obviously taking it away. So I had it in the drains, I had it in the bottom of the water tank, and there was probably 20 kilos of cinder block.
Oh.
Amazing.
It's awful that, but I understand how it happens. There is a time during the construction phase where the cleanup has basically been done. The skips have disappeared, but it's not everything. They haven't finished the construction yet. And so at that point, for a contractor, it's an additional cost to get the remaining rubbish off site, and you won't believe where they'll hide it to avoid that cost.
Which is crazy. I actually found where I've been living for 20 years, they buried a whole bunch of this stuff in one of the back corners of the site because nothing will grow there. And it's amazing, over 18 years, some of this stuff is come to the top.
Wow.
And you start to realize, holy mackerel, like, what is it? I was finding tile last year. This year I realized where they brought in a whole bunch of fill from because it's full of shells. Wow. And I'm going, why are there shells in my backyard? And it's fascinating. It's all just coming up. So
it sounds like a Gulf News from 1992 or so.
Well, I don't even want to go and dig in this back corner because I'm worried what's under there. How many paint tins might be there, maybe not, but I don't know. So I'm thinking at this point, let's not disturb any of that area and let's just leave it as it is for now.
I thought you were going super freaky with that one. I thought you were getting particularly worried about what might be there.
Yeah, no, at this point I'm just thinking, what? Okay. There are some trees growing on top of it. And the interesting thing is, I planted some trees in that back corner, and they are probably about 3 inches, in diameter, their trunks. But the other trees that I planted closer to the house are 12 inches now in diameter.
Wow.
So,
isn't that amazing?
Yeah. So what's going on in that back corner is the question.
Leave it be, kids. Yeah. Don't go near it.
Dan, Bulgaria.
Yeah, been away skiing.
Yeah. So I've never been to Bulgaria, so I thought, I know this is the DIY Fix-It show, but I think in Bulgaria might be a place I need to go.
My wife's from Bulgaria, so obviously I do an annual trip there. I guess it's got a bit of a poor reputation, but it's one of the poorest countries in Europe, so not a strong reputation as a tourist destination, but it's up and coming, and the ski resorts are fantastic. So we're flying to Sofia. It's a 2-hour transfer straight up the mountain. Hotels are fantastic. The food's amazing, and everything's cheap as chips.
There we go.
Really, really good hotels for a fraction of what we pay.
What's Bulgarian food? Like, what are we talking about?
Lots of meat.
Okay. Potatoes and that kind of?
I guess you call it a mixed grill in most countries. So you'll get a big plate called a sach, which will have pork, lamb, black pudding, sausages, and lots of vegetables. Comes on a big sizzling platter, and you share it, and it's like 28 euros, feeds 4 people. Wow. It's crazy. We're splitting the bill every night, and it's like 15.
Is it you splitting the bill with your wife? It's like
my whole family were there. Family from the UK. You're literally, it's 20 euros a head every time you eat out. It's not even 100 dirhams.
Amazing.
Brilliant. Yeah, it's good.
But then the drive back wasn't quite so good for you, was it?
No, I'd flew on the way back. So
that's a tough gig, that.
Coughed all the way down the mountain and on the flight back, and then gave it to my wife and daughter.
Yeah, knocked out the whole family. That's just nice. A nightmare.
And coincided with being due back at work, which is far from ideal as well.
Yeah. Well, and tennis. At the end of the tennis.
Went to the tennis, yeah. Well, I missed the men's week, but saw the ladies. It was good.
No, other way around.
Missed the ladies.
Missed the ladies, but then also, because you came back and you were in such a state, you missed a day of the men's as well.
That's right.
But fantastic this year, I must say.
And Roger Federer, he did his 100th.
Amazing. In Dubai as well.
Yeah.
It was really fascinating for us, the difference between the men's week and the women's week.
In what sense? How was it different?
In terms of demand, actually. The women's week was probably quieter than we'd personally seen before. The men's week was miles busier than the previous years.
Now, they had dropped the ticket prices this year, we noticed, compared to previous years.
For the whole event?
Yeah, because the ticket prices started creeping up over the last couple of years. But this year was down on last year. Looking at other tournaments, Qatar was extremely quiet, I think, because of the cost of beverages has been doubled over there. But
really doubled.
Yeah.
Over in Qatar, they've added a tax on certain beverages, which has made everything 2 or 3 times the price. So people are apparently just not going out there. So the Qatar tennis was very poorly attended. Dubai ticket prices were down, but it was pretty busy.
The thing is, that is the best event of the year.
Value-wise.
Oh God, it's just incredible. We've now been going. It's the one thing that every year, no matter what, we will be there for. We do the three 3 cheat days of each week.
Okay.
And then we take kind of half the bookings team with us each day.
That's nice.
Yeah, it is. It's great. But it's a really good time for us just to get to know the guys as well. Because I mean, we sit now downstairs. That keeps away from the main event, and safety's sake, safety's sake. And so it's a really good chance for us just to sit down, have a chat with the boys, work out what's going on, and just get back up to date. So it works really well from that perspective.
One of our team meetings sat outside the Irish Village over here. The food's always very good. So I sit outside now and heading afterwards for a few matches. It's a really good day out.
Yeah, it's one of those hidden things too when I think about it, because I mean you can get so up close and personal, not just on the main court but on the other courts.
Absolutely.
Like you're literally getting the sweat from the players hitting you as they do their volleys and things.
Well, I was chatting to a lady when you wait at the top of the staircase to be allowed into the stadium. We were chatting to a lady this year, and she was stood at the top of the stairs, first time visitor. She said she couldn't believe, even from the top of the staircase, how close you were. She said, I've been to Wimbledon, I've been on number 1 court, number 2. She said, I'm this far away from the players when I'm sat in my seat. I said, well, wait till you get down into the second and third row. You really do get closer than any other tournament. It's amazing.
And fantastic, Dubai duty free. It doesn't really matter what the economy's doing here in Dubai. They've always been phenomenal supporters. Yeah. And we'll be there every year until year dot, for sure.
Well, I just think it's a great opportunity to partake in a really special sporting event. And I like it because it's close to my home. So, and I think this is another thing. We look at all of the stadiums that have been redone and rebuilt. This tennis stadium has stood the test of time. They keep using it.
Yeah, but they were planning to move it, weren't they? Yeah. Like, was it 6 or 7 years ago? There was somewhere near the Rugby Sevens.
They were talking about the Sevens ground, yeah.
But I'm really glad they haven't. It has such a phenomenal atmosphere. And also the amount of F&B options around.
Well, you've got the Jumeirah Hotel there.
Yes.
You've got the whole Irish Village area there. I mean, it really works. I mean, parking's a little bit of an issue.
Well, no, we don't ever. Well, actually, that's not true. No, we do park this time. So we were parking just across the way.
Yeah, on the other side by.
You're going to tell everybody.
Oh, that's a fair point. Yeah, okay. Yeah, parking's a real issue, James. A real issue.
Well, I got to say, I used to do a show from there. And I used to park on the other side of the causeway from the public transport, and there was always spots.
Yes,
yes.
We found a car park this year, Century Village Park.
Oh, there we go.
Straight across the road, 50 dirhams a day, and then we get
safe driver home.
Safe driver home.
Yeah,
that's nothing.
Cheaper than a taxi.
Yeah,
it's wonderful.
Speaking of vehicles, I mean, as we were pretty much eating into everything, all the other shows. And Glenn's, we make a point of eating into Glenn's show.
We must eat into Glenn's show.
I got to tell you, when I told him about that Range Rover that you were looking at that you didn't get, his eyes did roll into the back of his head.
I told you they would.
Oh, yeah. And it was a kind of a weird eye roll because his face started to twitch.
Yes. Well, he's the guy, the absolute sheds that I've given him over the years. He is the guy who has to actually do the practical side. When I've done the fun bit, he physically has to make it work.
There we go.
But he'll be very proud of me. I bought an almost immaculate Pajero last night.
There we go.
Mind you, we missed out. I was telling Dan about this live. Missed out on this incredible Morgan last night.
Whoa.
I know. That was...
was this on auction or is this just...
on auction, which was just incredible.
And you got outbid.
I got outbid. I mean, I was crazy low for what it's actually worth, but it seemed as though people didn't know quite what they were dealing with. I was sending messages to Dan live going, there's just a 1% chance this might actually work. And I was outbid, but not by far in the end, which was quite amazing.
It's one of those Morgan Aero 8s, the modern looking one.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's got the M5 engine.
Yes, I think you're right. Yeah.
Great car.
It's stunning. I've always wanted one.
Okay.
I can't afford one. I mean, that's by the point. But Dan bless him, said, one way or the other, we'll work it out. Go for it. Bless you. I tell you what, that is a wonderful thing about you. I'm so glad you like cars. But even then, I thought, I've got to be semi-sensible on this one. But I think it went hundreds of thousands below its value, whether or not.
Really?
But you still have that scenario where it's highly unlikely it would have been actually sold for that.
Yeah.
But if it did go for that price, somebody has got the absolute bargain of the decade.
Wow, well, interesting.
Yeah.
That's sort of the other story. You'd love to follow up on what happens with these auction vehicles. Who gets them? What did they find? What happened with it? That's a whole show. There must be a show that does that.
Well, I'm constantly on the auction, so I can certainly do that show. It's no problem.
We should do one of those shows.
Yeah, one day.
Oh, I think so.
There's some very expensive cars going through at the moment on auctions. There was a 2005 Ferrari Super America went through recently. It was a low volume car. I think it was its auction was around 900,000. It's now for sale for 1.25 million on Debizzle. Wow. It's one of these specialist cars, very low mileage. It's going to sit there for years, but somebody had to put that money in and just leave it.
Did you? I'm guessing you probably didn't see, James. I put a shot on social media, which was from another auction house that I was at a couple of weeks ago, and in one shot, I managed to get a Ferrari 430, a 599, the Lamborghini. Which Lamborghini was it? Was it Murcielago or anyway? And also 2 G-Wagons, all of which were very heavily accident damaged. It was absolutely incredible.
I'm probably not. You know what? I'm following WeWillFixIt on the socials. I don't. Was this under your own?
Oh no, this is under me.
I got to follow you. I got to follow you boys personally as well.
obviously, when it's work, something like this, we stay totally on top each other. So on that basis,
well, not like this show.
No, we're absolutely on top.
Well, actually, I want to. We'll take a look at this in a second, but I want to get back on topic, and I still want to talk vehicles though, because we were talking about the transporters that you guys use.
Yes.
But you also use Fiat 500s for the runaround cars.
Yep, we've got Fiat 500s for all of our bookings team for when they go and visit customers. We initially tried smart cars. We thought there would be...
Okay.
A lot of our guys live around the Greens and the Springs. We thought smart cars would be good because they're easy to park, but they're not very easy to keep on the road. Absolute money pit.
So, but why the Fiats when, I mean, there's, you got the Corolla families, the Nissans, you've got all sorts of things like the Yaris. How did you decide on the Fiats?
They're great value for money. They're reliable. Yeah, but just an awesome little car.
The idea is, as well as just being there for all the bookings team to use, they're really great advertising vehicles.
Yeah.
So
they look nice too.
Yeah, exactly. And so we have 6 of them, 7 of them at any particular time.
Okay.
And so they've got a dual role, which is really the name of the game. When you're in a small business, you can't really afford to have something doing just one job. So any vehicle that's company owned has to be fully branded. We need to keep them clean. and so
all of your vehicles, I mean, forget dents and all that, which I never see on any of them. But all of your vehicles are always just so spotless.
Has to be.
Yeah.
My background's in branding, and probably one of the big things I guess I brought when we started this was it's either right with a brand or you don't do it. So we've been adamant over the years that the branding is correct. It's exactly the way that we want it to be, and it's kept that way. And it goes all the way down to clothing, attitude, without a doubt.
I saw the branded pants this morning. I didn't. I mean, the guys had the work pants on, and I've seen them all the time because it's a uniform.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize that it had the WeWillFixIt brand on some of the pockets. Is that new?
What, 3-4 years since we've been doing that? We had the odd scenario though where we found when we first started in 2008, we found a pair of cargo pants that was available through Carrefour at the time, and that was pretty much where the budget was. So we used those for sort of 5 years, 6 years, I guess. And then at that point, we're at the stage of, okay, right, we can go up a stage now and get something that feels a little bit more bespoke. So we got the suppliers in, and we got all of the kind of different colours of materials that we could go do different thicknesses. And it turns out that what we started off with was perfect.
Really?
So we custom made our own in a very similar colour with the branding and a couple more. We were sick of them ripping, so we obviously did slightly different versions for how the pockets operate. But they're there to try and look smart for as long as possible. And designed by Dan, I think. You did most of those, didn't you?
The clothing designer.
That's it. Many strings. But it's interesting, the colour of the trousers is really important. If the colour's too dark, then the shop's sand. If the colour's too light, the shop dirt really easy. So you've got to just
People don't think of this stuff.
You've got to find a medium colour that doesn't show up too much dirt or too much sand.
There is a bit of science to it. I mean, literally, we stood there with all the samples, basically with the various things that they come in contact with, and went, oh God, no. Definitely not, and worked through every shade that was available before coming up with exactly the one we already had.
Nice.
Yeah,
makes
nice
it
when it
work
works
really
out like that. It's almost as if we knew what we were doing back in 2008.
Absolutely. You say about the vans have to be kept clean also because we've chosen metallic paint colours.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if you've got any kind of sand on top of that metallic paint, it looks really bad.
It shows everything. So it forces the guys to keep them clean as well. So that's great.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Very nice. Hey, we had talked last week about talking a little bit about water stuff, and we sort of alluded to it coming in, talking about cleaning the water tanks, and I do want to talk about that. But before we get there, it's been a week.
Yes.
What are the top calls that you guys are getting in for repairs these days?
So it's a really odd one because a week ago we were saying that we were kind of thinking that March was going to get hotter, but it isn't. I mean, AccuWeather is saying it's staying cold, which for us is a nightmare.
It's a nightmare.
Well, yeah, it is because as soon as the kick-in happens, and it's like the 2-degree kick-in, at that point the phones go crazy, and we want to be prepared and ready for that. So the fact that it's going later and later makes the actual timing of it more and more unpredictable. We don't know when it's going to go. So trying to do the predictions and making sure that we're ready for that becomes more and more inexact. Normally, second week of February, on the dot, we're good to go, we're ready, everything's there. And we were ready again this year. And it just didn't happen. So we then had the weekend of sandstorms and all that kind of stuff. And that sent everything crazy. I was walking the dog at, 6:15 this morning, freezing. Absolutely freezing. So what we're getting is those people who are planning ahead and kind of thinking about the fact that it's coming and it's coming soon, the heat, are already booking in with AC servicing.
Which is the time to do that. And I know we say this every week, but plan ahead, get your booking in now because it's better for the guys who are going to come and do the work, and it's better for you so that you're not going to be without your air circulation.
Well, they also get real value at this time of year. So we're before the heat's hit, so we're doing buy one get one free. Do a full full AC service now.
Wow.
And then 3 months time we'll come back and do it again free of charge.
Nice.
And the warranty then lasts for 6 months, not just 3 months. So
it's a good deal.
It's an absolute no-brainer, this one.
And are people jumping on that?
Yeah, it's going really well.
Okay.
But it's those people who are thinking ahead.
Yeah.
And that's the issue, that until it's top of your mind, you're not actually going to go ahead and do it.
Well, I would bet people are going, I can get away without doing this now. Oh, we got a little reprieve. I can put it on my next paycheck.
Yeah, exactly. But then at that stage, when the heat's hit, and everybody who's any good, actually that's another fascinating one, isn't it? So the heat hits, and somebody says, "Oh yeah, I can be with you in half an hour." In that scenario, you should be asking, well, why can you be with me in half an hour? Do you actually know what you're doing? Because anybody who does should be rammed at that point. And as a result, that's not when the discounts are available. Now is when the discounts are available before that heat hits. So that's important. In terms of this week, plumbing again has been quite big. So we were talking about water heaters last week, I think, has been one of the issues.
Actually, I've had people jumping into my office with questions about water. Why are they asking me? Because I know you guys. And one person said, I put on my hot water and I get rust coming out of the tap.
Yes.
What do you think's going on there?
Okay, that's an easy one. Basically, the rust happens because over time, the water heater, it's basically like a glass canister inside the metal. When it starts to fail, water's leaking out of the glass, but it's going onto the metal exterior.
Ooh, okay.
So at that point, you get this the slight rust that kind of gets more and more, and then normally you'll then see it basically rusts more on the welded seams.
Okay.
Normally it's either out of the connection with the hot water, or alternatively the end joint on the water heater. Once you see anything that is coming in that direction, it's only going one way, and it's going to get expensive, because if you wait for the water to get out of the water heater, it's going to hit your ceiling, and then at that point you've got a ceiling repair as well as a water heater replacement.
Oh, so get on it.
Get on it. Yeah, definitely.
You were saying, though, back to topic at hand, it's been a lot of water issues.
Yes, lots of water issues. Pumps, without a doubt. There is a real issue right now in a couple of particular communities where there are a load of failures that are happening just outside of defects liability. And it's literally on that kind of time frame.
So how old would these pumps have been now? Because sometimes these communities, they sit idle for a year or two.
2 years, 2.5 years.
Okay.
So the defects liability will cover the first year. People have got maybe another year on. Things are starting to fail. And you see it on the community groups. You see people, somebody mentions a water pump and 10 other people come in and say, I've just had mine done. They're all just going down very quickly. They've all I guess, had a similar amount of use if the properties have been occupied the same amount of time.
And then we have multiple water pumps in a lot of communities, depending on how old the community is and depending on the configuration of the villa or the townhouse. You can have 2, maybe 3 pumps operating.
Yes, I mean the way it tends to work is older independent villas tend to have 2. Assuming that you've got a tank on the ground level, there's an additional pump that pushes it up to a tank on the roof. Alternatively, if you're in a big property as well, they tend to work in parallel. So you have 2 pumps that are there, and it operates one first, and then there's a switch that then turns on the next pump next. So it alternates between the 2 as they go. What it should mean is that your pumps last twice as long. Not necessarily the case on that one.
Dan shaking his head.
You need to kind of keep on that. And also very few of the systems, apart from a few of the computer controlled ones, which come with more issues. Let's put it that way.
Do we want computer control? I mean, I want to think that I want automation and I want some of the abilities that the efficiencies that the computer controlled system should give. But do I really want that, or do I want just old school?
No, you don't want that.
No.
You really don't want that. It's a standard install now on a couple of really high-end developments. And the reality is, in effect, it's closed box. So when that happens, trying to find somebody, A, that's capable of working on them, and secondly, if they are capable of working on them, it's almost like a PC when something fails, or a laptop, for instance.
Which you've had lots of experience recently. Phones and laptops.
Don't even stop in the last 48 hours of IT nightmares. But basically what happens is it's a full replacement of everything that's there, and it's really expensive. The old school systems are actually they just work, and they work and work.
Can you retrofit the computer systems that we've got this replacement system?
We are doing.
You are doing?
Yeah, that's exactly it. Because it works out much more cost effective and much more reliable.
A long time is it a big job doing these replacements? And
yes.
And again, Dan is nodding, going, "Yep, been there, done that."
Yeah, I'm just thinking, I'm just thinking we need another plumber, don't we? So.
Yeah, it's really on what precipitates this is the way that a lot of these setups are designed. They are underground.
And underground as well.
Yeah, so almost tank rooms in this scenario, and. In fact, there's 3 new developments that have this kind of scenario.
Wow.
And
why would they do that? Is there a reason for it?
Basically, because with large properties, it takes up quite a lot of area.
Okay.
So instead of having that above ground as a separate room, in effect, with the tank in it, they put the tank underground, and then next to the tank, they create a little extra space, which is there for all of the pump equipment.
Okay.
The problem is, if the float valve fails on the tank itself, it floods that room. And then when we go there, the water's up to 6-7 feet, so the whole thing, the whole pump system, or the computer system is toast.
Yeah, it's all underwater.
Done. Yeah. And at that stage, you'd be looking at 70,000 for a like-for-like rebuild.
Whoa.
And if you convert it back to the old scenario, you're looking at 13 to 15.
But you're still looking at 15,000 dirhams.
You are looking at 15,000 dirhams, yeah.
Wow. That's and you need it because you need your water.
Yes, and literally in the last 4 months, I think we've done 5 of these.
Wow.
And it's
there must be tears in the eyes of the homeowners or the renters at that point.
Yeah. But the part that has failed is 225 dirhams.
Really?
Yeah, horrendous.
See, that's I often wonder when we're looking at so the plumbing stuff is kicking in, these pumps are kicking in. What's typical lifespan of these pumps?
5 years.
5 years.
Yeah, for decent quality pumps, then you should get 5 years, maybe a tiny little bit more. Pressure kit's normally 3 years maximum for those, but it's on that kind of cycle.
Yeah, I always find it kind of interesting because a lot of if you've got the 2-pump system and it's sitting up on the roof of your accommodation, it's getting blasted by the sun. Like so many of them there's no covering over them.
Yeah,
and that can't be good for the pump nor for the pressure kit.
Absolutely not. But there's not much. I mean, outside of building something over the top of it, there's not much that people can do from that perspective.
The other side, when I think of plumbing, and it's just having walked around a few villas as people are buying them, they say, "Hey, come on, take a look. Let's go walk through." And I take a look at the piping and the plumbing on the roofs, and for whatever reason, I've been around some older villas, and I kind of look at how those pipes are weathering. And that must be another area that you guys get called into every now and then.
It can make them brittle, for sure.
Yeah.
2 different main types that you get here. So you get UPVC, which is traditionally it's like a dark grey. As they weather, they go to almost white.
Okay.
And then the other type is PPR, which is green. Now, the PPR is much thicker pipe. And it requires plastic welding to actually joint it, which is something we've got. There's plenty of people that do, but it's 10 times better than the UPVC, which is joined by just a contact
the glue
weld.
there, yeah.
It's not actually even all that much more expensive.
Really?
But the tradition in Dubai is UPVC. Now that, because it's thinner and also it is more brittle, as Dan mentioned, so that fails more often. With PPR, because it's so thick, it may have gone from green to almost totally white, but very, very rarely does it actually fail. And it's also more malleable. When you're working with it, you can move it around various bits. In fact, I can show you it in the warehouse afterwards.
So the fact that you might have nice weathering pipes, if you're not touching them a lot, you're probably okay.
UPVC, no, because
okay.
if you imagine you've got kind of anything up to 5 or 6 bar of pressure inside those pipes, and they're designed to stay pressurized. So with UPVC, yes, you get plenty of leaks that happen that way, but with PPR tends to be a lot better. Actually, again, we've got PPR for our setup here at WeWillFixIt Towers, and I'll show you how weathered it looks, and absolutely fine. So it's just, if it's green and weathered, you're pretty much okay. If it is dark grey and weathered, you need to keep an eye on it.
Is there, in your scenario, sort of a lifespan on these things? Should we be looking at every 10 years, maybe the visible pipes that are being exposed to the weather, to think about swapping them out, or is that overkill?
No, your timing's about right there. Actually, when I moved into my place in the ranches, so I moved in when it was just over 10 years old. And at that stage, I ripped out all of the PVC exterior piping, redid all of that, and actually now I've just converted it over to PPR just because I needed something quick initially, and then once we had time to look at it, I was like, right, no, actually let's transfer that over properly. But 10 years is probably about right for PVC. PPR, actually, it's only really been in use for under 10 years. I mean, we started down year 3, year 4 doing PPR installations, I guess.
Yep.
And it doesn't look as though it's got any issues for another 10 years, maybe longer.
Right. And piping's not that expensive, is it?
No, here it's not. But again, there's a lot of Chinese pipe. You got to be pretty careful about your suppliers.
So, I mean, can I visibly tell the difference? No.
Actually,
so you don't know if the guy's gone to Dragon Mart and just bought, a container.
Yeah, I've done a bit of a blanket job there. There is perfectly decent Chinese pipe available, but you've got to trust your supplier, and that's the critical thing. So we've stuck with the same tiny little shop in Satwa for 11 years since we started. We used to be located just at the end of their road, so it was a bit of a fluke that we started with this shop. But it's tiny. It's like a cabin. And we spent.
He's got storage units all over the place. So whatever you want, you go and say, I want something obscure. He'll find it within 5 minutes.
He sends some guy running to his other storage.
Absolutely.
It's absolutely incredible. We spend millions of dirhams on this guy.
He must love you guys.
Doesn't even give us a Christmas card.
Actually, that's a very valid point. We don't get anything, but when you have service like that, he does deliver now. To be fair to him, I think.
Well, that's nice.
Now that we're over in Alkeys. But no, it's one of those whereby he knows how we operate now. We know how he operates, and he never gives something substandard.
Right.
So it's good that way.
But which is interesting, because I bet you he's got some of those substandard piping available if you really wanted it. Not that you want it, but only because I've been to some of these places, and the guy takes one look at me and he says, "You want this?"
Yeah.
And I'm going, "Well, what about that one?" And he goes, "You don't want that one."
Yeah, but that's the point. You need to ask that question when you are going. If you are going for supplies yourself, especially in Satwa or these kind of places, ask them the question. They will tell you straight. Is this the right quality? Is this the best quality that you have? They're not looking to upsell you. It's just some people will work to the lowest of low price points, and some people actually want a quality job.
You know what? I've also found that this is staying in the plumbing in our kitchen tap sort of area, and I found this at a lot of villas. Is the washers that go between the aluminum kitchen sinks and the fixture that you're using, they don't seem to have any. And I've looked at, because at someone's house, you help them wash up, and you're noticing, okay, this is an interesting movement on your tap. And as I take a little look, it's like it needs a little rubber washer.
Oh, I get you. You mean the attachment? So
Yeah.
a washer between the sink itself, the hole where the sink is, and the tap.
And I'm looking. I've seen so many in the last several months where it's like that piece doesn't come with the kit, and I'm thinking, this is clearly someone should be selling these things, and
often needs tightening up.
Yeah, see, this is the difficulty with tightening up. Back in the day, the locking nut that's on the underside of the tap used to be brass. Right. And at that point, you've got something really good that you can just clench hold of with. Actually, you need a special tool most of the time to get at that.
But what, a pair of water pipe pliers isn't going to do the job?
Well, it's no. Well, there's basically, you need the 90-degree, if you can imagine. So your normal ratchet, you need a 90-degree head, and there's a particular tool that is available. Actually, we use Stanley for that one, which basically gives you both the 90-degree head and also the clasp that you need to be able to do that twist at the same time. So for the difficult ones, that's what we kind of use. But the issue now is that they've cost reduced from brass down to nylon. Well, if you tighten the nylon,
like that's plastic.
Exactly. Then at that point you pull the threads, and it's a real problem. So our guys, when they install, tend to use like a lock thread on the nylon so that it's going to stay where it's been put.
It's just, cost effective for the guys who are making the products, but at the end of the day, it just doesn't sound.
That's under a dirham, isn't it? Yeah, it's probably under 50 fills, and it's frustrating. Even the decent brands have gone down that route, and it's nothing short of frustrating to say to somebody, "Look, I'm really sorry, but you're not going to believe this. That is not only can we not get you just the replacement locking nut, but none of the parts within modern taps are serviceable for a cost-effective price because of the labour."
Walking around Carrefour the other day, I noticed they've got a whole aisle of water filtration that I can put into my house. You guys find yourselves installing any of that equipment for people?
We do some, but not as much as you would expect.
Yeah, it's an interesting one because the way that tends to work is either somebody who's got either the need for drinking water that comes directly from the tap, in which case you need to go high end to get something that is totally reliable. Personally, I wouldn't be particularly comfortable to have that setup without something UV as well as filtration as such. The traditional way you would do that is with something like a standard 5-micron plastic filter, then a standard 1-micron plastic filter, then a carbon filter, and then a UV. That would be the way that you would traditionally set it up.
Sounds like you're set up for your pure water.
Yeah, it is. Well, that's kind of where the original logic came from for that approach, and then we obviously took it to the nth degree. But then the issue that you have is each time you go through a filter, you get pressure loss. Well, if you've only got a 1/2-inch pipe, which is the standard fit of where you would fit it, then you've got a problem there. If you want to go overall, so next to the pump, so an entire house setup, then at that point, much bigger filters that are required, and secondly, it's really critical that you don't get this pressure loss, and it depends on your pipe setup more than the pump itself at that stage, whether or not it's going to be acceptable.
I think a lot of people in Dubai worry about hair fall. I think it's a very popular discussion. I understand with my wife and her friends in the bikini park. They talk about losing a lot of hair.
So just over dinner, you say, "Oh, how's the hair fall going?"
Yeah, I think it's a real worry.
I'm not hanging around in your crowd.
No, I think it is.
It's a big lady's problem, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really, when we tried at my old house, my wife was talking about it. Said my hair's falling out, so we tried putting an aftermarket filter just after the water heater. Didn't make any difference. I think if you want to make a big difference, like Colin said, I think you need to go to a professional setup, not something you're going to buy by yourself.
So did you guys Did you guys head to the professional room?
No, we didn't. We moved house in the end. But
and has the hair fall situation changed?
Actually, it's better in this house.
Yeah. So it's the same water though.
Yeah, but it depends how it's been stored, how it's come, and also what contamination level it's got.
Interesting.
So yeah, it's a really difficult one, but it genuinely is a major issue for ladies in Dubai.
Well, I wonder if this doesn't open up a whole other conversation. No, I mean, just spitballing here for a second, but when we talk about filtration, what about the system that puts back in the water or is putting in the water the minerals and things that are leading to the hair fall that are absent or something, or is the water ultimately just too hard or too soft? I don't even know what we're looking at here. If our water's kind of in between.
I'm not really a huge expert on that kind of hair fall issue, but I'm sure the way it would go is the cleaning process would be pretty much standard. So you get it to a base level and then add in whatever it is that would be
He's
useful.
got a fine head of hair for a man in his 40s, hasn't he?
Thank you. Going grey ridiculously rapidly.
Aren't we all?
Sure, that's your fault, Colin.
Hey, but you know, speaking of water, what I've noticed, and you would notice the same thing with your water filtration system at WeWillFixIt, is I've noticed the pH levels because, I've got a jacuzzi hot tub, and while the sanitary, keeping it sanitary and all that is important, but I really monitor the pH levels because as soon as those get out of whack, you tend to get dry skin or itchy skin or whatever. Yeah. And I just noticed over the years that has really changed a lot. In fact, the pH is rather high, I noticed, coming out of the tap. It was still within acceptable ranges, so I'm not dissing the municipality, but higher than I like it for my tub.
We've got exactly the same issue right now. In fact, as we speak...
It used to be lower, though. And this is... I wonder what's changed, because I found that the pH, 10 years ago was low, and now it's high. So I don't know what's changed.
Yeah. We've got something, I don't know whether it's Alcus related or what, but right now we are, as we speak, installing a new carbon system to try and equalise that all out. Yeah. And it's proving difficult. It's variable as well, which means that trying to get back down to the base level that we want to be before we start going into a reverse osmosis situation is really critical to us.
So there we see. Who knows? Whole area of discussion to continue on with.
Yeah.
Anything else going on in the plumbing world that you've been getting calls about?
What else have we got right now? Oh, as the water starts to get warmer, then the way that a pressure kit operates basically is using a bladder of some format to almost act like a damper for the water. Otherwise, you get those horrible kind of clunking noises that happen.
Yep.
The problem with the bladders are they're made of some format of rubber, and rubber doesn't like heat. So over the next couple of weeks, it's just started actually, which is odd because we were also saying that it hasn't got too warm yet. But I think over the next kind of probably 4 to 6 weeks, we'll start to get more and more pressure kit failures as those bladders that have been teetering on the edge through the cold weather get some heat to them, and it just makes them brittle and they crack. And at that point, there's no point just replacing the bladder because already the rest of the unit's been sort of smothered in water. So there'll be plenty of those replacements coming as well.
Yeah, at least that's a fairly quick replacement.
Yes, it is. Yeah, 45 minutes it should be normally.
Which is nice.
Yeah.
But it's, again, one of those things to be, doing some observation of your pumps, when you've got it on, if it's going on and off and on and off and on and off and on and off, we got an issue.
Yep.
Yes. I think a lot of people just forget that stuff. It's, again, that little bit of troubleshooting, knowing when to make a call and get the team in.
Yes.
Is I think people could save themselves a lot of misery if they just listen to what's going on around their accommodation.
Yeah. Also, I mean, the on and off scenario is those are proper old school units like you've got with the pressure vessels.
Oh, yeah. I've had those.
The electronic pressure kits that most developments have now, there's a little jet of water that comes out the top of the pressure kit, which tells you the bladder's failed.
Okay.
So that should be
I'd
air.
like one of those.
The idea is that there's a tiny little, like a pinprick air hole, which is there to allow air in and out as the bladder expands and contracts. Well, if that's water, you know for a fact that the water's got through the bladder. You've got a crack, and it's gone. And actually, one of my favourite customers yesterday got hold of me. Bless her.
This isn't the lady who's like number 6.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, there we go.
Just round the corner from you in Meredith. And she sent me exactly that picture yesterday of the pressure kit as it went. And I mean, it's about as clear cut as you can possibly imagine. But as soon as you see that trickle of water, then you know for sure that's all done. But and it's literally, there you go. That is as clear as day.
Yeah, it looks like my place.
Goes.
Yeah, I've got a system just like that. I've never seen water come out of the top though.
Yeah. Okay,
that's a good thing.
If you look closely, there's a tiny little hole there. I haven't seen that many times.
I saw the picture yesterday. Yep.
Right. Okay. So it's standard, and again, that isn't a substandard unit. That's an ESPA unit. We fitted that probably 5 years ago for Nagas, I guess. Mind you, that pump, Dan. Here's a case in point. That pump, which is called is a Grundfos pump.
Yeah.
That's
It
here.
looks just like my house. Is
They're
that
like the Ferraris of the pump world.
Yeah.
Well, I absolutely love Grundfos. They're brilliant. And this one we installed as one of our very first jobs at WeWillFixIt in 2008. We're now 11 years later. That pump still is going fine.
So maybe you guys were the people who installed the place at ours. I don't know, but I've got a
19 years
pump.
ago, maybe
I've got
not.
a pump very similar to that, and I don't know. A little while ago, the guys were in doing some work. Not your guys, but my landlord's guys. And I said to him, I said, "What do you think of that pump?" And he took one look and said, "That pump's got a lot of life left in it." And I said, "Really? You don't?" Because it looks like that. It's well weathered.
Again, buying quality.
Yeah.
You know, it's we keep saying people think pump, they think cheap, and next thing you know, they're off in Dragon Mark, but they're not the same.
Yeah.
It's a different world.
Yeah. So it's pretty important. Anything else in the water world?
Do you know what? One of the things that we were going to talk about, Dan's going to remember this one. One of the things that we were going to talk about was what was the nightmare of all nightmare fixes, and
That's been at the bottom of the list forever. So
I know, but I keep we've got an absolute classic on
I
this.
love it. I love this. I love your stories because, like, as you said, you've been over 10 years. You've been doing this.
Well, this one's pulling back from kind of probably 7 years ago, which was Jumeirah Islands.
All right.
And we were called to a job by actually a property manager at the time, which was
Dan's a proper student. He's checking off on the sheet.
That's kind of one of the interview jobs that Dan, bless him, always looks after. And it's really useful. But this job was basically what we were told was so our client's been away for the whole of the summer, and we were in September.
Oh no!
And somewhere in August, the next door neighbour got in touch with them to say there's water going down your driveway. Okay, so this is Jumeirah Islands. About a couple of days later, they finally managed to get into the property. It wasn't as easy as they thought. And what had actually happened was, they went up the stairs along the long corridor. It's a big Jumeirah Islands property, and in the furthest bedroom, or the bathroom of the bedroom from the corridor, the shataf, the sprayer had sheared.
Oh no!
And the water had basically, if you imagine, they found it when it went down the driveway. Okay, so it had been a really long period, and by the time that we went there in September, it was proper hazmat gear. Like, all of the walls were black, the roof had just mold all over it, but in every room, because they left the doors open as you would do to allow circulation to occur.
Yeah.
So the water had basically branched as it had gone, and literally we took one look at it and went, you're probably talking about $250,000 or more to fix this. We were there to basically make a basic assessment. Is this a full-on insurance job? And if so, what kind of money are we looking at? And we're like, this is not even a question. This is a major insurance job. Go through the entire process of this. But it is literally a fitting, which on that one was, 40 dirhams? Wow. Caused $250,000 dirhams.
They had some carpets as well, if I remember. They had carpets which were soaked, and obviously the tiles underneath are raising up because it's just been soaked in the carpet for weeks. It was a real mess.
And nothing that you can do until the whole thing is dried out. So there was no way that was habitable for, God, it would have taken 6 to 8 months to get that back to a habitable state. Horrific.
And for something that was 40 dirhams.
Yes. But they weren't to know, to be fair. They weren't to know. And that isn't, I wouldn't have done, to be fair, I probably wouldn't have done anything different apart from making sure that if you are going away, somebody's got a key and at least going in a couple of times a week as a minimum.
I'm just thinking we don't tend to isolate our water at home when we're going away, but you do make sure there's somebody coming in every couple of days, and at least if there's a problem, you nip it in the bud.
Well, that's as you're talking about these little things. Toilets can have a problem, and the plunger in there. Next thing you know, you got water overflowing. Those little tap things, hot water tanks.
Yeah.
It just if it goes, you're unlucky. The whole ceiling.
But that's kind of a very regular scenario where we get the phone call or the email, which is here's my DEWA bill. It's 40,000 dirhams. And how's this happened? And DEWA actually have been a lot more proactive recently, which is wonderful. They're now spotting the spikes, and when they spot the spike, initially they will send both email and also put a notice at the property to say your consumption for some reason has just gone over. I think they actually have like a 70% threshold, I think it is.
Okay.
So you're made aware of it as quickly as DEWA can possibly do, which is a phenomenal service from them. And they will actually go as far as isolate if there is anything that is they think is really untoward, to try and save you that. But again, if there is that leak, it's a heck of a discussion to have either with a landlord or alternatively with DEWA Direct, because the consumption has happened.
Yeah.
So it's an awful scenario, and we've seen it on numerous occasions.
Mm-hmm. Another one I want to go back to with hot weather is door handle issues, and the number of places I've gone where I'm looking at their door handles and I'm going, that's not an external door handle. Why do you have an external door handle on a door that is leading into your villa? And we got so many places where you've got exposed doorways.
Yeah.
And it seems to me that either people are cheaping out or the people who are doing the repairs don't realize that you need to have the correct equipment.
That's an original fit on quite a lot of developments as well, that all of the door handles are completely consistent, including the front door. But the nice thing is, for the developments that I'm thinking of, Dan, the original fit is actually really good quality.
Oh, that's good. So
they do last quite well. The problem tends to be when, as you mentioned, if it is repaired and replaced, then at that point, they're notorious for, door handle. What do you think that should cost? 60 dirhams. Okay, yeah, so that's the market rate that people are thinking. Well, actually, the quality door handle that was originally fitted was actually 360, 370. Yeah. But people aren't going to say, okay, what with sourcing, installation, etc., you're probably at the 550, 600 mark for one door handle. You must be kidding me. Yeah. Fit the 60 dirham number, and next thing, 6 months later, the lacquer's peeled off and you've got a green door handle. And you're like, what happened there?
Or they just fail. I've seen this happen at a number of places too, where the aluminum or whatever the composite is being used just shears off.
Yeah.
And nothing worse. It looks terrible.
Well, it's totally unusable as well. And again, that's down quite a lot of the time. That's down to casting. So if they need to save money by using less metal, then you end up with a dodgy casting, or the metal itself is, you end up with something that's such low quality that it's just a stress failure over time.
I know we talked about painting before, but exterior and interior painting becomes a big issue as well, and making sure that you're getting the right paint, especially for doors and walls. And I just see just walking around villas in some of the areas where I am, there's a lot of empty ones. And I'm just looking at paint. I don't know why. I'm infatuated with paint. And it's peeling, or I'm going, I think you got the wrong paint on there. And it's like, who's going to buy this place or rent this place?
If you've got to have the right paint to make sure that the guy that's painting your villa is not watering it down. That's a big problem in Dubai. People just tend to
I see that.
add water to paint. You go, why are you doing that? If it's a good weatherproof paint, it shouldn't need watering down, but people trying to save money.
Are the paint guys, whether it's Jotun or the others, are they still selling paint that needs to be mixed with a water or a thinner? Is that still out there, or is that gone?
It's an interesting one, because what they try to do is to make the paint as tolerant as possible. Yeah. They know that that's a standard thing here, so they make it on the thicker side of the scenario, so that if somebody added water to it, then it would still be as effective as it could be. Yeah. So yes, there are still brands that suggest you can take up to 10% of water, but if you can show me somebody who only uses 10%, I'd be quite amazed. And the reason that they do it is not just to stretch out the paint itself, but it also loses less brush strokes. And especially in a hot climate, it can do that as well. But the problem is you then end up with a rainbow of colours with one original scenario, because there's no kind of measurement to it and there's no real mixing to it. Yeah. So we have an absolute stipulation. Nobody adds any water to any paint that we use. But the other reason for...
And are you guys buying a specific paint these days? Are you using a specific brand?
We moved about 5 years ago onto Jotun. Which is interesting.
Why'd you move it to? A great brand there.
Yeah, we were with Dulux. The Dulux has changed now, so they changed their local partner in terms of who works it, and then the pricing went pretty uncompetitive, which is where we started. Okay. And also over time, we were looking at the paints, quite similar to you in a way, and Jotun was the original fit for a lot of the developments around this period, and it was aging really well. So we were pretty confident in the quality, and when you throw quality and price point together, that's kind of where you get to. Interestingly enough, it seems like Caparol have taken a big step forward on the original installation with developments. So we're certainly keeping an eye on them at the moment.
So like Colin said, a lot of the developers are using Jotun as their original paint, and you need to get an approval. So if you want to repaint a property, a lot of communities will give you a range of colours, but you can only...
So you can't just go and paint?
No, because otherwise it's going to look like a children's TV programme. Well, Ballamore, is it? If everybody chose the wrong colour, communities will start to look quite hard. So they give you a choice of shade, maybe up to 10 different shades, but you've got to stay within that palette so that your house doesn't stand out.
Do they tell you what supplier to go to as well, or
because you've got certain colours, it's one brand that you can choose. So
I mean, you could colour match, but then at that point you're taking a risk.
Because do they come and inspect you as well?
Really? Most developers will take a deposit beforehand, do an approval, and then they come and inspect afterwards. So if it's not right, you don't get your deposit back.
That can be up to 5,000 dirhams. The deposit alone.
Can they make you repaint if they don't like the color? They hold up the swatch? No.
Yeah, they've got every right to do that. I mean, we're at the stage now, which is great with the some of the main developers, where we can just send pictures and they're happy that we are totally legit in the way we operate. But that's 11 years of experience of working with us.
You guys have dedicated painters?
We have two different scenarios for that. For internal work that we can do effectively up to kind of probably a 2-bedroom apartment, we do that ourselves. If we're crazy busy, or alternatively it's a big job where we work with kind of very technical small teams, because that's where we get our value from. Yeah. However, for painting works, if it's something that's big, we have a contractor that we've used since pretty much day one. Nice. Who, when it's, for instance, before now we've done 5-bedroom, 6-bedroom, 6 property complexes rather, and at that stage you need scale, so he can throw 15 guys at it, and it'll still be managed by us. It'll still be the quality that we do, but then it is outsourced the actual labour.
I've seen a lot of people using sprayers, and I've seen them for sale. I can get a paint sprayer.
I've got one.
Pros and cons to that? There's some obvious ones that it's going to go everywhere, but are you guys actually spraying paint?
I am personally, which I did the kids' treehouse with one.
Dan shaking his head.
I've never tried it. You go in Speedex or Ace, it looks like fantastic gear. Even the Bosch stuff, the straight off the shelf, doesn't look. It looks good for what it costs, but I've never tried it.
Okay, so the difficulty is, first of all, if you're looking internally, as you said, the overspray is just dramatic. Secondly,
and it's going in the air, so not only overspray, but it's
airborne.
Vaporized.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the first thing, and you've got all the health and safety elements to that. Secondly, the amount of paint, therefore, that you use over and beyond is huge.
But does it give you a better finish?
No. It's much quicker. But again, you have issues with drips and issues with coverage as well.
So you end up getting the roller out anyway and doing some repairs.
The treehouse, I did one coat initially with it because I really wanted to give it a go. Yeah. And it takes a lot of tuning. So the weight of the paint, believe it or not, is really important.
The weight of the paint?
Yeah, because if you're using a preservative, very thin, light paint, so you need to use something really kind of quite fine in terms of the tips that go on it. Yeah. If you were using an emulsion, say you're doing walls, that kind of thing, then again, slightly heavier paint with the water that's in it, which means your coverage is going to be patchy at best. If you're very good at it, it'll be patchy at best.
That's the other side, isn't it? I mean, how much practice do we get on this? I mean, using a paintbrush at best, I've got sketchy practice and a roller, but everyone's kind of done some of that at some point. But using a sprayer, that's a whole other skill set.
It is, but then people think, okay, well, when I'm getting doors done or when I'm getting skirting boards done, the guys come and they spray it. Well, no, there's a real art form to that. It's all down. Then you do need to thin, an acrylic paint. And it's a whole different world with the DIY stuff versus what they're using.
And I think we have to have a paint talk.
I can
talk acrylics, water, oil, brushes,
Yeah.
rollers. I know we've done this in the past, but I think we have to have a whole paint talk just on.
I can happily do that discussion. That's no problem at all.
You know what? I think we're going to wrap up the show once again. It's 800-FIX, 800-349 is how you can get a hold of these guys, and I encourage you to do that. Give them a call. Your call center is brilliant. They just like to talk too. If you just want to have a chat, like they'll just chat with you.
We're happy to give advice. That's actually a really good point. It's not all about just booking a job with us.
Yeah,
and we're happy to give advice. We have, for instance, one of the things we don't do is appliance repair. Yet we've got the list of all of the approved appliance outfits and who does the service agent. So again, we can provide that to people. Yeah. It's important to say we are not motivated, financially or otherwise, with anybody who we give recommendations for. We're adamant about that. But we also want to be helpful for those jobs we can't do ourselves.
Well, I sent someone else over to your upholstery guys in Satwa, which I'd sent you. You've sent this to me before, and I couldn't find it. I couldn't remember which WhatsApp I'd used or where that was. But again, people are really happy, and it's just again, you guys have used it a variety of times. I don't know,
lots of times.
Dan, good business.
Yeah, and it's just knowing where these folks are and making use of it. So
yeah.
We Will Fix It show. Colin and Dan, as always, total pleasure, and look forward to doing it again real soon.
Sounds great.
Thank you very much.
You've been listening to the We Will Fix It show, a Podaholiks podcast with Colin and Dan from WeWillFixIt.com. Want to get a question through to us or a comment or a query? Podaholiks@gmail.com, or ping us on our socials, Twitter and Instagram, Podaholiks. That's with a K, and we'll talk to you again really soon. So long for now.